Hi everybody, my name is Jenna from jennaawk.com. I've also popped up in a few other places these past few weeks. Today I want to do something a little bit different though. I wanted to produce this short, personal little video message from the comforts of my family's living room in the Woodlands, Texas, and for a few reasons. First and foremost, just to express gratitude to everybody who has visited the site and read our work and contributed such interesting and lively comments. You know, it's been such a privilege to be part of the discourse that's been produced from a pretty incredible 3 weeks of, the Women's World Cup thus far. And it's particularly special when you think about how much this has been like a community effort. We're really experiencing history being made in front of our eyes alongside so many different people around the world. And it's just that community aspect that has made it so much fun and made it so worthwhile. So thank you so much for all the support that's been shown. Thank you for the interest. Thank you for the readership. As always, it's deeply appreciated. Secondly, I would not have known this, I have to admit, had Ray Kern not brought it up, but it turns out that this is actually All White Kit's 1000th post, which is interesting that it happens now, because given the past year and a half, what's transpired in the women's game in the U.S., women's soccer has had its fair share of ups and downs in that time, given WPS's continued woes, and the U.S. women's national team's trials and tribulations in trying to qualify for this tournament, and just women's soccer's, struggles to earn respect, to earn hard-earned respect, and to earn media attention, and just to carve a foothold for itself in the mainstream sports landscape here in the U.S. So when you pull back from that and you kind of look at where we are in this present moment, it's just amazing when you juxtapose the two together. It's almost hard to process, given how, especially when you consider how much the U.S. Women's National Team has permeated the American mainstream culture almost by now, and that's kind of realized in things like seeing Tom Hanks tweet a support for the team, or seeing the team splashed across the front page of the New York Times or the LA Times, or seeing People.com cover the players, just things like that. It's just been so remarkable. It wasn't that long ago that we were just sighing over the fact that only 2,505 people showed up to watch this team play in Philadelphia in October. And then obviously after that there was the whole struggles to qualify and that loss against Mexico. So it's just remarkable how many strides this team has made up to now. And it really makes you value this moment so much. Now, and again, like when you look at the history of women's soccer and like its historical pattern, it seems to have its peaks and valleys. It seems to have like a series of ups and downs. Attention and interest surges and then it recedes, and it surges again and then it recedes, and it's kind of cyclical like that. Well, now we're experiencing a peak that is so significant, and one that hasn't been seen in at least a decade, or maybe even a generation. Just like when you consider how much media attention the whole World Cup has seized, both here domestically and as well as internationally. And maybe it's made the people who have kind of written off women's soccer, who have kind of turned their noses up to it, maybe it's made them kind of revise their opinions, given the technical skill that's been on display and just the quality of play and the parity that's been showed throughout this tournament throughout these past 3 weeks. And I genuinely think that this World Cup has done so much to promote the women's game as of now. It's going to be interesting to monitor how much this excitement is generated, this momentum can be generated and parlayed into future efforts to continue to support the game and to continue to stabilize the game, both here and internationally. Because obviously, women's soccer needs as much support as it can get, and hopefully this will be the catalyst, like this will be the spark for something greater, something larger. Now, that question is too big to be answered immediately after the tournament ends. It's going to take a long time to see what the true residual benefits of this tournament is and will be, if there are any. But it does provide some optimism going forward, knowing that we're part of such a special thing and so many people are interested in. It's been so remarkable. It's been unbelievable, or unglaublich, as our German friends would say. Now, another thing that's been unbelievable and remarkable is the U.S.'s presence even in this year's final. And again, it's the U.S.'s first appearance in a World Cup final since 1999, and it's again, they aren't really underdogs going into the tournament or going into this game with the U.S.'s tradition in mind, with the U.S.'s number one world ranking in mind. But there was a lot of uncertainty about the team going into the tournament, no doubt about after those string of lackluster friendlies and the issues on the field that had never really been dealt with. Now, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter how well or how poorly this team plays. It always finds a way to get it done. And I think that's a lot of Americans who may not have any interest whatsoever in women's soccer, I think that they really recognize that, and they've really shown their respect for that fighting spirit, for the athleticism, for that never say die mentality that really is so associated with some American ideals. And again, I mean, this team deserves so much credit for where they are right now, both in terms of, you know, everybody else's perception of them and also their performances and their presence again in the final. I mean, their accomplishments that they've made have just been, you know, unbelievable, and it's very, very, very much deserved. And again, it's an interesting contrast. I mean, the contrast is stark when you consider the U.S. and Japan, their opponents in the final on Sunday. Japan has put such an emphasis on technical precision and movement off the ball and just that fluid attacking kind of style that's so interesting to watch. And I know it's not, you know, everybody's, you know, favorite way that soccer is played, but it is quite, so, you know, it's somewhat refreshing to see, you know, this kind of like diversion away from just brute force and physical strength. You know, now it's more about finesse and flair and things like that. And maybe those characteristics will just be part of themes that we're going to, you know, see repeated throughout women's soccer in the next couple of years. You know, I mean, maybe this final is kind of like an interesting merge between two styles that are kind of, you know, at a conflict with one another right now in the women's game, and it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. Now, I don't think that there's going to be there's going to be a happy ending regardless of the outcome. I mean, it's obvious where my allegiances lie, but, you know, regardless of who wins, it's going to be a good result for both the women's game and for you know, obviously the teams involved, because with Japan you have that backstory that is so, you know, that's just so remarkable. I mean, they're really planning to provide uplift to a nation that was devastated by natural disaster a couple months ago. I mean, their story almost transcends the realm of sports even. You know, and then the U.S. obviously with the way that they made it here in this tournament, or well, in this tournament, sure, and also in the final too. I mean, that can't be discounted either. It's not on the same level as Japan's, but still, I mean, you know, the U.S. had a lot to overcome to be at this point. That shouldn't be forgotten either. So it's been quite a wild ride. These past 3 weeks have really produced so many twists and turns, and it's just been so much fun to be a part of and to experience with everybody else. So thanks again for experiencing it with us, and enjoy the games on Sunday. Thanks. Cheers.